Welcome, everyone, to Heartbeat Theater. This is your host, C.P. McGregor, inviting you to be the guest of the Salvation Army for the next half hour. Our star this week is Lester Fletcher. Our story this week concerns a painter and his art, an art which took the artist 3,000 miles across the country into 2 Salvation Army thrift stores and into a slightly revised outlook on life. It's titled Abstract and was written for Heartbeat Theater by Christopher Young. Lester Fletcher stars as Mike as we hear Act 1 of Abstract.
Abstracts. How do we judge them? Bring me a suspected killer and I can judge him on the evidence. Show me a building and I can judge its merits because I have 10,000 years of buildings to which I can compare it. Bring me a precious stone, I can judge it by the rigid standards the whole world recognizes. But an abstract painting is like a woman. I judge both emotionally.
We can't all fall in love with the same woman.
Precisely. I love your work. I respond to it. But my 2 partners don't. We all mutually respect each other's judgments. To survive as a partnership, we let the majority rule, of course. It's that simple, Michaels. But because I admire your work so much, I'm giving you this time so as to counteract the discouragement you must feel at our refusal to give you a showing.
2 to 1 against me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you right, or am I wasting my life?
In the arts, many men were right and never lived long enough to find it out.
You're encouraging me again.
Michaels. Oh, they call you Mike, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Right. Looking at it realistically, Mike, something few abstractionists do, a considerable percentage of collectors have no genuine taste in art. They just have money. They buy what they think they should buy. They buy to impress. They buy because a dominant color matches their couch, and most often they buy the gallery, not the painting.
Is that why the Larson galleries sell nearly everything they show?
Of course. Larson's my competitor, but I'll be the first to admit his galleries are the most influential and successful in New York. He has a reputation, and quite frankly, he deserves it. He has unerring taste and an uncanny knack for knowing what people want in art. And by the same token, those who don't know what they want in art feel secure if it's from a Larson exhibit.
You've got it made if you can get hung at a Larson gallery.
All too true. Well, look at yourself. You've been in the wilds of Europe for 9 years, and you knew the Larson galleries. Imagine the impact they have on collectors locally, and even nationally.
So I should see Larson?
If you have the fortitude. He has an assistant, the equivalent of a whole army. Just see her, and you'll have accomplished your first triumph as an artist.
If she likes my work.
I strongly suspect she will, but I'm warning you. Freda van Planck is this century's answer to the walls of Jericho.
Freda von Planck?
Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly descended from a long line of Prussian generals.
Well, we beat them in 2 wars.
Oh, but this time you're fighting with canvas, and she has a tongue like a bayonet.
Don't sit down. You won't be here that long.
They warned me about you.
Insufficiently, I'm sure. I'm vicious, Michael. Some say I'm sick. I get my kicks out of destroying artists' egos. Now, don't you think you're wasting your time, and more important, mine?
You granted me the interview.
Merely as an exercise. I haven't put one of you in your place for nearly a week.
Well, go on. Practice.
You're holding up well.
No blindfold either.
I've been told I'd make a firing squad look like the line at the Roxy. Evidently, the ego can hurt more intensely than the flesh.
I brought some canvases.
With paint on them, no doubt?
And coffee stains. The automat was crowded, you know.
An improvement, I'd imagine. Let's see, Michaels. You were in the war.
No, it wasn't everybody.
You hated every minute of it, but you fought bravely, for there was a principle involved. You came home, studied art under the GI Bill, returned to Europe where the really great teachers could be found, and now are convinced the world is eagerly awaiting your first showing.
All correct, except the last point.
Come now, Michaels, you're no different than the rest. I could pour you in a mold.
I believe in my work. So others do, too. I want to give the public and the critics a chance to find out if they believe in it. If they don't, I'll make it a hobby and do something else.
How thoughtful. You want to give the public and the critics a chance. Deny the ego one moment and then fumble the denial the next.
So the choice of words was wrong. You know what I mean.
I know you're lazy. You want money, adulation, and you're willing to do nothing more than smear a canvas with paint.
You know something? I wasn't sufficiently warned.
You're to be congratulated, Michaels. You haven't raised your voice once. And you haven't walked out. You're 1 in 50.
That's a paltry distinction, considering you must be 1 in 50 million.
Now I know. You do abstracts.
Good guess.
Good deduction. If your eyes saw me at all realistically, the sight would have been unbearable. But you've reduced me to color and form. That makes your stay tolerable.
Thanks. You know, I wasn't sure that I understood the reason myself.
If I sat for you, Michaels, what color would you see me?
White.
White?
Of course.
Why?
Simple. White for purity. Whatever you are, I'm sure it's in its purest form.
Let me see your work. That's good.
I brought 3 more.
Don't bore me.
But I thought...
You could have brought me 53 more, 300 more. Most of them would have to be good based on this sample. The work is insignificant. The talent is what counts now that it's established.
Careful, you're saying nice things.
Only because we can make money with you.
I'm ready.
I'm not. You have to be handled right. The overnight success doesn't always survive in this business.
Art a business?
To me. You're moving to Southern California. You'll exhibit there. I'll arrange it. You'll sell a few things. I'll see to that. Other details will be worked out, too. You'll return to New York and show in our galleries 3 years from this May.
3 years?
Leave your address. You'll get the details in the mail.
How do I get to Southern California?
Last I heard, they had trains, planes, jets, buses, cars, and thumbs.
No, the latter fits my budget.
Then use it. I've never subsidized an artist, and I don't intend to start now.
Hitchhike with 63 canvases under my arm?
Store them.
That costs money.
Give them away.
You said they're good.
Yes, but not worth a nickel. Give them away.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, you have a lot of interesting things in here.
Thank you. Is there something I could help you with? Oh, here. Why don't you lay your package down on the counter? It looks heavy.
Yes, it gets a little heavier every day. Say, just what is this place?
Thrift store. The Salvation Army has them all over.
People give you these things?
Yes. Of course, not always in perfect condition. We have a lot of places called the men's social service centers where things are rebuilt or fixed or whatever it takes to make them usable again.
You think they could repair an unsuccessful painter?
You're an artist. And those are paintings. I knew it the minute you walked in.
All of a sudden, I'm an open book today.
I'm sorry. It's just that I like art and artists.
I wonder if you like art enough to swap about 50 paintings for a few clothes and that fancy suitcase.
Isn't that a beautiful suitcase? It must have belonged to very wealthy people, and it looks practically new. I don't imagine they had to do anything to it.
They?
The men who fix these things.
Oh, all these people work for you?
You really don't know anything about the Salvation Army, do you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. They've got a real nice place for working girls away from home in Paris. I used to pass it every day. And they're all over London singing and helping out, too, I guess.
You're funny.
Oh, I'm near hysterical. I hoped it didn't show. So, who are these men who do all the fixing?
Mostly people with some kind of problem that keeps them from working commercially. A lot of them used to drink too much. Some are handicapped. Some may be just too old to get another job.
Well, it looks like I came to the right place. Any aversion to helping artists?
Of course not.
Then how about the deal?
Deal?
Well, I've got about 50 canvases. I'll swap you 40 of them for what I need.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, they'll be worth a fortune someday. Here, let me show you. Well?
Oh, that's wonderful.
And now you say, what is it?
It's morning. It's a special morning, new and fresh. It's beginning. It's birth. It's a new idea, clean and good. Oh, it promises something wonderful.
It's yours. No swaps, no nothing. It's yours to keep. I'll make my deal with the other paintings, but this one is yours.
Oh, I just couldn't. I just couldn't take it.
Of course not. It's already yours. You can't take what's yours. You understand? Now, the clothes and the suitcase, well, if we could set them aside, I'll get the rest of the canvases down here within the hour.
But I have no authority. I'd have to see the...
Oh, you can do that while I'm getting the paintings.
I just don't really know.
How different. How incredibly different.
What?
2 women within the hour, so far apart no artist could paint them both. What's your name?
Fay. Mary Fay.
Mary Fay. Will you please help me pick out a small wardrobe for California? My offer was accepted by the powers that be at the Salvation Army. Accepted? Mary Fay and her superior, Captain Lyman, insisted I was far too generous with my paintings. They felt that 3 would more than balance the few items I chose and guaranteed me safe storage without charge for the remainder. After my experience of the hour before at the Larson offices, I felt as though I'd emerged from darkness into sunlight. I would never forget them. Mary Fay and her Captain Lyman. How could I? To forget such people would be like forgetting beauty or love. I enjoyed the trip across the country. Every window of the bus became a frame, and every view a masterpiece. My head reeled with snatches of Thomas Wolfe and Walt Whitman. My fingers ached to get a brush in hand. But even the modern suspension of a cross-country bus was no match for my easel. We ran into heavy rainstorms somewhere in the Midwest, and the weather, it seems, caused the event that would change my life. No one was hurt, and the bus was only delayed for the length of time it took to fill out the necessary forms. The car damaged our baggage section and some of its contents. The top of my suitcase from the Salvation Army thrift store was sprung, but it stayed in place until I unpacked it in the modest quarters I'd rented. That was when I noticed the familiar shade of green peeking through the underlining. Admittedly, it was with trembling hands that I ripped the suitcase apart. All in all, there was $3,240 ingeniously concealed. I could only think of one thing. My first sale brought an impressive price.
That was Act One of Abstract, starring Lester Fletcher as Mike. The Salvation Army's thrift stores, mentioned a little earlier in our story, serve a double purpose in the Army's work. First, they serve as an outlet for the goods repaired and reconditioned by the men employed by the Army's men's social service centers. These, as you know, are homeless and handicapped men whom the Salvation Army seek to help by providing temporary shelter, food, and a job until they can relocate themselves and become again a useful member of society. Second, the thrift stores sell these reconditioned articles of furniture, clothing, and appliances at minimal cost to those who couldn't afford them otherwise. 2 vital services from one agency is a pretty good score, I think. I think also that you'll agree with me, and if you do, why not let the Salvation Army know by sending them a generous check? Now, Act Two of Abstract, starring Lester Fletcher as Mike.
All things are relative, I once read. For the first time, I knew the real meaning of those words. $3,000 doesn't go very far these days. I'd met painters who would have considered themselves failures if one canvas didn't bring at least that much. But to me, it was a fortune. I hid the money carefully, took what little money of my own I had left, and went out to get something to eat. In the kind of neighborhood I could afford, you almost expected someone to follow you when the streets were dark and empty. But this was the first time anyone might have a reason. It was incredible to think that anyone else knew about the money. I wanted to get a look at him. He stopped no more than 20 feet behind me. A bar across the street was built like a lighthouse, complete with beacon light drawing circles in the misty night. In just another instant, it would bathe my friend in light. Whoever he was, maybe he did know about the money. For when I saw him, I realized he'd been a passenger with me on the bus from New York.
Man, you look scared. I mean, like real goose pimples.
What do you shave with, a sponge?
Well, I could be wrong. Is this a tourist I see before me, a non-believer, a conformist? That most foul of words?
What kind of a joint is this?
Man, you don't dig, but you shine like a likely candidate. You play the flute, you paint, you dance. You must.
Oh, must I?
You must. For I see below the surface. I am the gifted one.
You're crazy.
Oh, man, now you speak our language. Crazy, man. Welcome to my coffee house, Espresso. Or perhaps my Cafe Vienna. Incomparable.
You got an amusement tax?
Because she reads? I mean, like the Treasury digs us, man, entertainment was never like this. As thinkers, members of the Beat Generation, we question the very idea of taxation.
Beatnik. Of course.
Join us, friend, and help stamp out the coffee break. Make the hot dog a barbaric memory. You dig Kerouac?
The writer?
Our prophet. Come, some espresso. 60 cents to the tourist. 10 cents to you.
I'm hungrier than that.
We have pizza, Irish borscht.
Irish borscht.
Instead of pink, it's a little green.
Ah.
Over here, a menu. Move over, you cats. Now let us through.
Who did the painting on the wall?
You dig those, man?
Yeah, about 6 feet under.
Now you know why I have this coffee shop.
Ah, you did them.
And you paint.
You know anyone in art circles around here? I mean, without a beard.
Like I know them all.
You know Hetty Kearns?
Ah, the old one. She has no beard, which for her is unfortunate.
How old?
I mean, like Hattie Kearns makes a juvenile out of Methuselah. It's rumored she was in an old folks' home during the Frisco earthquake.
Does she have any influence?
Enough. Oh, behold, we welcome another stranger.
It's him.
He can't see you through the smoke, man. He's the captain bugging you.
You got a back way out?
Upstairs, to my pad. You can hang your problems there.
Crazy.
You see? You dig. You really dig.
It was a hideout for me. A hideout. The money in my hands for less than an hour, and already I had to hide. I offered my bearded friend no explanation for the fact I was being followed. About 4 a.m., I went to my room, got my things, and returned to the beatnik's pad, as he called his room. He liked my paintings and offered to play host as long as I'd give him lessons. I didn't leave his place for a week. I figured whoever was following me would find out I'd abandoned my own room and completely lose my trail. On the morning of the 8th day, I went to see Hattie.
Come in, Mr. Michaels.
Thank you, Mrs. Kearns. You picked a magnificent site for a gallery here.
Magnificent and dangerous. The ocean has a temper, as does anything of great beauty. But the waves are also a friend. Please sit down.
Thank you.
I've been expecting you for several days now.
Oh, then you've heard from Frida von Planck of the Larsen Galleries in New York.
Well, I wasn't referring to that. Excuse me.
Of course.
This is Mrs. Kearns. Oh, yes. Well, Alice, I always liked the seascapes in that wing. Fine, dear.
You were saying, Mrs. Kearns, expecting me?
Yes, I've had several calls, 2, 3 a day for the last week, asking me if you were here or had been here.
Who was it?
I haven't any idea. But there's always something exciting in the world of art. Of course, these last years, it's become so very commercial.
A man or a woman?
Oh, man. Did you hear about the excitement in New York a week or so ago? Somebody stumbled on some very original work and they can't find the artist. Very hush-hush, of course, as these things always are.
You say he calls 2 or 3 times a day. What did he say?
You seem very concerned.
Oh, no, it's just that it's curious.
Oh, I see you brought some canvases. May I see them?
Yes, certainly.
Miss Von Planck has unerring discretion. That's why I'm always anxious to cooperate with her. Yes. We'll make arrangements for your first showing. Excuse me. This is Mrs. Kearns. Oh, yes. Well, as a matter of fact, he's here at this very moment. Would you like to speak to him? It's for you, Mr. Michaels.
Yes? All right, thank you. Hello? Hello? He hung up. Whoever it was, he was determined to get that money, and I was just as anxious to see that he didn't. I'd taken it from people who had befriended me more generously than any I'd ever known. I'd give it back to those same people. Then let him try and get it. After I'd made certain I wasn't being followed, I went and got the money. Checked the phone book in the coffee house and found the local Salvation Army thrift store.
It's you.
Mary Fay, what in the world are you doing here?
I was transferred. I just got here this morning. How did you find me? I mean, I've been trying to find you.
Now, wait a minute. You were transferred 3,000 miles away and
I knew I was making a change this week. I was going to Colorado. But the officer in charge here is a friend of ours, and he put me on here until I can find something permanent. I was so glad, because I wanted to find you. You were going to write and give us your address out here so we could put it in our files. We have all your paintings.
You're more concerned about them than I am.
Well, you don't know what happened. Not 5 minutes after you left, a man came in the store and asked to see any paintings we had. I showed him the 3 you traded with us, and he bought them all. We hadn't even put a price on them, and he paid us $50 each.
If he liked them, the price is reasonable.
Oh, that's what I told Captain Lyman. I know paintings, any painting, even from an amateur, brings at least that. But then he saw the one you gave me and wanted to buy it.
A dedicated fan.
And how? I told him it wasn't for sale. Then he offered me $100 for it.
This begins to get interesting.
Well, I wouldn't think of selling anything like that someone gave to me. Then he offered $200. That's more money than I ever had at one time in my life.
You didn't take it?
No, and he got madder and madder. His face was turning purple. Anyway, by the time he left, he had offered me $350.
What did he look like?
Oh, well-dressed, middle-aged, rather cold-looking.
Dark hair, very small mustache.
You know him?
We haven't met. Something tells me we will. I just can't figure it out.
Oh, there's more. When I turned down the $350, he was just furious. He stormed out of there, and I thought he was going to break down the front door. An hour later, he phoned me. Now he wants to give me $500 for your painting.
Wait a minute. Look through the store window.
That's him. That's the one.
Are you alone here?
Well, just for a while. The others are out to lunch.
Wait in the back. This may not be the most congenial introduction.
Oh, but...
Please, hurry.
All right.
I took a position behind a large grandfather clock near the front door. As he entered, I grabbed him from behind and pinned him to the floor. He went down easily. All right, now. Who are you?
You'll break my arm.
I'll do more than that if you don't start talking.
I just came in to buy something.
A painting, maybe? Oh. Look, mister, you followed me ever since I left New York nearly 2 weeks ago, maybe even before that. You tell me what you're after, or it's going to hurt a lot more.
Right, let me go.
Go ahead, talk. Who are you? What do you want with me?
I don't want anything with you. I'm just doing my job.
Who for?
Gelderson.
Who's he?
You're trying to get exhibited, and you don't know Gelderson. Well, he's the biggest art speculator in the country.
Art speculator. Okay, keep talking.
Are you kidding me? You don't know him?
I said keep talking.
Gelderson buys what he thinks other people are going to want. He holds out until the time is right, and then he sells them for top dollar. Well, he's got agents all over the world.
What makes him think anyone is going to want my work?
It was reported to him that you came out of Von Planck's office with a smile on your face. And that means she has plans for you. And when Frieda von Planck and the Lassam Galleries have plans for an artist, he's got it made. Don't you know they only average one newcomer in their galleries every 2 years? And not one of them's missed in 26 years.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Is it? It's big money in art, pal. Where that kind of money goes, you'll find the operators in hot pursuit. And some people buy stocks in uranium mines, but others buy unknown artists.
All this because I left Von Planck's office with a smile on my face?
Just the beginning. We even have a transcript of the letter Von Planck sent to Hattie Kearns. That's how I knew you'd be showing up there.
Get out of here.
Get out! Just for job, pal. Just for job.
I heard everything.
Yeah. Haven't we both? You know, Mary Fay, the thing that really frightens me is how much like him I almost became. What do they say? But for the grace of God.
You? Like him?
Here. This envelope. Take it and give it to whoever handles this type of thing.
What's in it?
Something that belongs to the Salvation Army. That's why I came here. I found it in the lining of the suitcase. Mary Fay, have you ever considered yourself a symbol?
No.
You are to me, of the good things in life. Would you mind going to dinner with me tonight? My credit's good at a coffee house near here.
So ends the final act of Abstract, starring Lester Fletcher as Mike. Be sure and be with us again next week for another Heartbeat Theater story. Heartbeat Theater is a presentation of the Salvation Army and has been chosen by the Armed Forces Radio Service for broadcast overseas. Until next week, this is your host, C.P. McGregor, saying thanks for listening and have a happy week ahead.